Hi, I'm Yinka, and this is The Hurt Locker, a podcast where we open a door into men's mental health. Come and go.
I haven't ever talked about it in this way before. You didn't want to know. So I just carried it. Just like another bag. I just carried it. Just carried it with me. Just waiting for
Somebody
Yeah.
just to burst that bubble and for it to
Yeah.
all explode. Conflicted.
Conflicted, definitely. Confused, frustrated, angry, grieving, shocked, traumatized, lonely, broken.
Welcome back, listener, to part 2 of Seamus Corry's Hurt Locker. Just as a reminder, this is where we left you in part 1.
So that in of itself was the straw that broke the camel's back. And is this what led you to contemplate suicide?
Not quite.
Okay.
Not quite. When you don't use protection in a sexual relationship, there's a greater likelihood of a pregnancy taking place.
Yeah. Capiche.
And for a lot of various reasons that I won't go into for out of respect for the other party,
Yes.
that pregnancy couldn't go to full term.
Was that the straw that broke the camel's back?
Yeah. I was dead. I was dead. I wanted to be dead. I didn't deserve to be alive. I didn't deserve to exist. I didn't. And I knew it. So yeah, that was it. Then it was a series of unfortunate events, which led to me appearing before the bishop and the charges being brought, and initially denying the charges of entering into a relationship and everything that went with that, and then being taken off, being suspended, being taken off, being taken to a retreat center, being debriefed by 2 of the top psychologists in the country for 6 weeks.
Can I ask for what reason?
They wanted to find out why the program didn't work.
Why the seminary didn't work?
Why the seminary program didn't work. Why it didn't work for me. Why I was a virus in the system.
Come on. Whoa. Who's using those words, virus in the system?
That's what it felt like. It's like taking a computer. It's like taking a computer into a shop, right? And you're going, the computer's not working properly. Go and find out what's wrong with it, because it looks like there's a virus or something in it. It's not working right. The church do the same thing. You take people in and they go, he's not working right, by the way. We've got to perform open brain surgery on him and pick his brain and find out what his dynamics are and find out what makes him tick and why he did what he did and the way he did it, so we don't make the same mistake again, right? So this happened. The church might deny it happened. The church might deny and say, no, we don't treat people like that. But look, after six weeks of this, in front of these 2 people, I was willing to plead fucking guilty to anything.
So they effectively brainwashed and broke you?
Completely. The only thing I didn't have was the 24-hour day music. So after 6 weeks, I say, all right, fucking enough's enough, right? I put my hands up. Yeah, I'll plead guilty. I'll do what I have to do. Just give me the paper to sign. I'm ready to rock and roll. I was ready to rock and roll for years, so fuck this, I'm away. So yeah, I went to my bishop on the 18th of the 18th of March, and I think 6 weeks before that we put it into February, late January, early February. Yeah, and I resigned. Because I had the whole facts in front of me for the first time in my life. I had the whole facts in front of me. Now the facts of the case are these. And the church again might come out in response and deny these facts, but the facts are as follows: that at the beginning of my priestly seminary life, at the middle of my priestly seminary life, and at the end of my priestly career, 3 psychological assessments were carried out in relation to my suitability for priesthood, based on my personality type. And there's ways they can measure that.
Wow.
Based on my personality type and based on the dynamics of my personality type, at every juncture, every one of those fucking reports said that I should not be a priest. I should be dissuaded away from ministry into another career. They chose on 2 of those occasions to ignore those findings. The church authorities chose to ignore those findings.
Do you know why?
In favour of the numbers game. The church in Ireland was going through a bit of a crisis in the early 1990s. So they needed numbers, right? They needed numbers to push the numbers through. I was just a fucking number.
Yeah.
I was just the Marine to be shoved over the top. At least if I died, I died. If I lived, I lived. It was up to God to work it out, wasn't it? Not up to them. They weren't taking any responsibility for it. No blood rested in their hands. I was simply a number. Simply a number. A number in a file. Once it became clear, though, after that debriefing, after I was fully and totally and completely broken and smashed to pieces, that I didn't have the capacity to maintain a celibate priesthood and I should be dissuaded away, then, and only then, did the bishop sit me down and said, maybe you should go and do something else. It would have been fucking good to know that. It would have been good to know that early doors, right? Might have saved a whole load of people a whole load of pain. No, they will have destroyed their records. These records don't exist because I've asked for them and they don't exist. They have been destroyed.
Oh, they'll probably exist somewhere, though.
They will exist somewhere on a secret file somewhere.
So you've left the priesthood now. You've resigned from the priesthood now.
On the 18th of March 1996 at 5 to 6 in the evening, I formally handed in my resignation.
And they accepted it without any quibbling?
Without any quibbling. The bishop thanked me for my service and offered to sustain me for 3 months to get me up and running, and so that I could find my feet and do what I needed to do. And then the lobbying started because my dad was friends with the bishop.
Well, go on. Tell me, what was the lobbying consisting of?
So
to accept you back in?
Yeah, accept me back in. Put pressure on him not to leave. Let him do anything. And the bishop was like, had me on one side, had my dad on the other, and said, look, my dad's been in touch, and he's wondering if you could stay. And so here's the offer on the table. We send you over to Africa. You go over to Zimbabwe. You stay in Zimbabwe. You live in Zimbabwe. You work in Zimbabwe. You die in Zimbabwe.
How did that feel for you?
I never knew my dad had that much power. And I thought, no, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that. Fuck it, I'm not taking that. I've made my decision based on the facts. These are the facts. I take responsibility for my actions. I'll own up to my responsibility. The part that is my responsibility. And then, I'll go off in my merry way. Do something else. Oh no. That didn't go down too well, as you can appreciate.
I can. And what type of relationship existed between you and your dad then?
None.
None?
No. He wouldn't accept it. He wouldn't accept it. He didn't accept it. He wouldn't accept it. 13 years, he wouldn't accept it.
For 13 years.
After that day, yeah.
So that's what, 2009?
About that. In the meantime, my bishop, as I said, was very supportive and at that time, and he gave me a way out. Got my passport together, liquidated all my assets, and got my job working in all places, in a monastery.
Oh my God, you couldn't make this up.
You couldn't fucking you could not make it. You literally couldn't make it up, right? I had the other party, on my tail, wondering, was I going to stay with her, was I not? Phoning me from Scotland. Eventually made it over to Scotland. I remember I landed in a plane on the 29th of April 1996 at 5 to 6 in the evening. And the plane landed, and I found myself in a strange world, strange environment, and I didn't know where I was. Didn't know who I was. Didn't know where I was. Full of all this pain and angst and all this trauma that had not been dealt with for years. For years. For years.
And what about the rest of the family? Your dad didn't speak to you for 13 years. What about your mum? What about your siblings?
None. No contact.
Was that because your dad had said not to speak to
100%.
you?
Picture was taken down off the wall. I was dead to the family.
Dead to the family?
Yeah, dead to the family.
And in that time, did you try to make overtures to?
Yeah, I did. I had to hold the phone out about 2 feet from my ear when I was on the phone to home. I would speak to my mum briefly, and then the phone would be grabbed by my dad, and my dad would scream down the phone at me, "Don't you be phoning us? You're a black sheep, and you're going to hell for what you did," and all that kind of stuff. There's no salvation for you. There's no salvation for somebody like you. You're nothing but a piece of shit on the bottom of my shoe. That was the attitude.
How does somebody come back from that when their own flesh and blood, their own father saying that to them?
I was determined to prove everybody wrong, and I was fucking angry. I was angry. I got angry. I remember Alanis Morissette's "A Jagged Little Pill" came out in 1996. One of the first albums I listened to, and I listened to it on rewind. Alanis Morissette, "Jagged Little Pill." Now that, if you ever want to listen to an album, Yinka, that's an album to listen to when you're fucking angry, because she's angry. She is angry. I fucking listened to that album 24 hours a day, all through that period. It was an angry album. It was a frustrating album. It was an angst album. It was one of the best albums that I've ever had. And occasionally I hear tracks from the album come on the radio, and even now it's like, it fills me with anger.
Note to self: Alanis Morissette.
Jagged Little Pill. Yeah,
Jagged Little Pill.
First album she produced, and it became a worldwide global hit because it just said like fuck you, and fuck you, and that was the word. That was the album mission in 2 words. It was a big fuck you album. Yeah, and I just felt like telling the world just to say fuck you. I've been fucked over so many times. Like, I don't know how many times I've been fucked over. I just felt numb. I've been fucked over so many times, but I was determined to prove everybody wrong, that I could make it, that I could be this successful guy.
I'm just curious, what about your siblings? Didn't your siblings go behind your dad's back and reach out to you? And
no,
did they have that much of a control over the family?
Yeah.
What?
Loyalty at all times. If you step out of the family, you're dead.
Is it loyalty or is it fear?
Both. But that's how the Catholic Church ruled their congregations. That's how
Yes.
they have ruled them. Fear and guilt, the two big principles.
Yes.
Fear if you step out, and guilt if you do. And neither the twain shall meet. You can't have
Yeah.
one without the other.
So
So I sat on that hill 2 months into that monastery experience, and I said, fuck you, man. I'm done. I'm so done. I'm beyond done. I want to end this. I was in so much.
was this in 96?
This is in 96.
Hmm.
I was done. I was done, Yinka. I was done. And so I walked up the hill, carrying my little bit of rope. I was going to wait till everything was quiet, until the monastery was shut down for the night. And then they'd find me the following morning, hanging from a tree. But I said to myself, I'll just watch that sunset. I'll just watch the sunset. I'll sit down and watch the sunset, because I had nothing else to do, right?
And was the intention of that suicide outside the monastery just to put two fingers up to them?
Yeah. Fuck. Absolutely. I'm going to have the last word, right? I'm going to have the last word. Nobody's going to fuck me over ever again, because I won't be here. So I did. So I sat down on that hill and watched the sun go down, just make its way across the hill.
And what were your thoughts in those
There was a
last
low.
few moments?
For the first time in my life, I felt a bit of peace. I didn't feel conflicted in any way. I made my peace. I talked to God and I said, look, see you soon. We'll have a chat. We'll sit down. We'll go through it all. And I was going to close my eyes in this world. And as I sat on that hill that particular evening, it was a beautiful sunset. The sky was golden. And I could feel the sun in my face as the sun was going down. And I could hear the birds singing. And the breeze was just blowing gently in my face. And I just call it for what you will. Maybe it was a moment of clarity, maybe it was a moment of divine intervention, maybe it was a moment where you have nothing left, and in that emptiness and in that absence and that space, you see yourself very clearly. I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die.
You didn't want to die, but you
But
wanted the pain
I
that you were
wanted
experiencing to
I
go.
wanted the pain to end, yeah. I just wanted it to end.
Can I ask, you recounting your experience and how it was for you, how does it feel talking about it at this moment in time?
Relief. I feel relief.
Tell me why, unpick that.
I haven't ever talked about it in this way before. And I wasn't expecting it. I knew this was called the Hurt Locker, so I knew it was going to hurt.
Boom, boom.
Right? But and it's been coming for a while, and I've decided this year to write a book. And a lot of these old memories I carry with me. You know, and I suppose it's about making sure that I just want my story to be told, shared with you in the way that I've shared it, with all the rawness and emotion and authenticity and honesty. I hope fills me with relief, and fills me with a sense of gratitude as well, that I'm sitting here on the floor of a hotel, alive and breathing, and being able to share my story, and having, in the intervening 26 years since I've been in the UK, 29 years actually since I've been in the UK, being able to help so many people because of what I've experienced. I recognize now that I do matter, and I've always mattered,
100%.
irrespective of the decisions I made. And people will judge me the way that they'll judge me, rightly or wrongly. Doesn't matter a fuck to me. But the people who want to hear the story will hear the story. The people who listen to the story will listen to the story. The people who will get something from the story will get something from the story. And I hope, and it's my earnest wish, that you find a way to express your pain. You do matter. You do matter. That there is another way. There's always another way.
Always.
That suicide is not the answer. Taking your own life is not the answer. It's not the answer. And I sit before you today as a testimony to that. My life is filled with so much happiness now. As I said at the start, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm a husband, I'm a Don. You know, I've got 5 beautiful children, 2 beautiful grandchildren, and a wonderful family, and a wonderful wife, and a wonderful home, and a wonderful role that I now do.
Do your children know your story?
No. And if they're listening to this, if they ever accidentally happen across it, then I want them to know that,
It was meant to be.
yeah, and I want them to know that I love them. Because I don't have contact with my children, 3 of my children at the minute. And I want them to know that I love them.
Can I ask, Seamus? I think you know this anyway, but who's the most important person in your life?
Me.
100%.
Because it starts with me.
100%.
It starts with me and my brother. If I'm right, everybody around me will be right. But
100%.
there's also responsibility in that, because I have to make sure every day that I work my program, you know, and through therapy and through working the program and finding out who I am. And look, and I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect, but I work on myself every single day. I try to be the best version of myself every single day. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but at least I'm trying every single day.
And that's all we can do.
100%.
That's all we can do. When you look back on religion, what's your thoughts? What's your views?
I have no faith at all in the institutional church, any institutional church,
Organized religions.
any institutional brand. I have no faith in that. Do I still believe in God, or a God that means something to me? Yes, I do, because I met him on that hill that day. He and I had a conversation. He spoke to me through that sunlight and he said, I love you. Just trust me. I love you. And just trust me. And I heard it. I heard his message. Because everything else was clear. And through that message, I've learned to love myself again.
That's probably the hardest battle you've ever had to undertake.
Yeah.
To love oneself.
Yeah. It's a daily battle, Yinka. It's a daily battle. Because you can appreciate. I've had an awful lot to carry for such a long time, and it's not easy. It's not easy open myself up about that, but the time is now. I'm 55 years of age. I turned 55 on Wednesday. Thanks, mate. There was a time when I thought I wouldn't make my 26th birthday. So, you know, to be where I am today and do what I am able to do and share my story and share my truth is, for me, a real honor. And to be able to do it with you in your presence this evening has been a real honor.
No, I'm the one who feels blessed for you to share your story, to share your hurt locker. Can I ask, is your mum Still alive?
No, my mum passed, which is probably the reason why I've begun to be a little bit more freer on my story. She asked me to promise her that I wouldn't write my story until she died.
But she wanted you to write your story, though, didn't she? She did, didn't she? She well did. Hey,
She's here now. Tell her she's here.
I like your mum, la. I
Oh,
like your
you
mum.
love my mum. You love
I
my
like
mum.
your mum.
Yeah, she definitely wants me to write my story, but the only clause in that was that she wanted me to do it when she was away. My mum contracted cancer some years ago, and she passed. And I had the blessing of making up with both my dad and mum uh, before they passed. And
How was that?
after 13 years, my dad's brother passed. He died suddenly, and I think my dad wanted to finish. He had a bucket list that he needed to go
Yeah.
through, and he needed to sort his affairs out. And part of that affair sorting it out with me. So he phoned me up one day. I was at home. It was a Saturday. I was with my partner at the time. It was not my wife, and I said, "Look, it's your dad." And I'm going, the phone was out here, 2 miles away. So I'm going to get it. I said, no, come. He said, I want to come over and see you.
How was that for you? What was your heart like? What was your heartbeat like? Did your stomach churn? Tell me.
I asked my partner to check my life insurance just to make sure that I was up to speed and up to date, just in case that I didn't come back from the meeting, because he was bringing one of my brothers with him. My brother was doing the driving, so I thought, okay, this is going to be an ambush. I'm going to be packed in the bag and thrown off the Fourth River, where we were in Stirling. You'd never see me again. I'd be floating down, into the North Sea. But we met. I was nervous as hell. I think he was nervous. I think my brother was doing chaperone, and he was making it light. Just asked generally about how I was and what I was doing and where I was working and all that kind of stuff. And about maybe an hour into the conversation, he said, "Like, I'd like to see where you live. Where you living just now?" So I says, "Well," I says, "the deal was we'd meet in a central location and and go from there. But I says, if you want to come home," I says, "so I phoned my wife and my partner, and I says, look, my dad wants to come home. I want to see you." Whispering, I said, "Is it okay?" And she said, "Yeah, bring it." So he came back to the house and we had a cup of tea and I looked everything around, and we spent a bit of time and I met my partner, and it was nice. No words passed between us in terms of the previous 13 years, but no words needed to be passed between us. And then at the end of the conversation, I just hugged him and told him I loved him.
Did
And
he
he hugged me.
reciprocate?
Yeah, he did. And that was it. That was it. And my dad had cataracts that he needed to sort out in his eyes, and he got a date for an operation, and it was a straightforward enough operation. There was no real complications, though. He'd be under for about an hour, get the cataract sorted, and he'd be out. But my dad was really nervous the morning of the operation. I don't know why, but he was really nervous. He never got nervous. He never got nervous about it, but he was pacing in the middle of the night and, getting things sorted and couldn't get a really good sleep. But anyway, went to the hospital, saw the surgeon, did all the prelim, got his blood pressure taken, which was a little bit lower. Walked with the surgeon down to the operating theatre when he got all gowned up. He walked down. He was a fit man, always been a fit man. He was a postman for 42 years, so he was fit. He was fit as a fiddle. sat up on the operating table, and you know, there's 2 injections that they give you, I believe. When I've never had a full anesthetic, but the first one is just to relax the muscles, and the second one kind of puts you under and puts you into that unconscious stupor where you don't feel anything. So the first injection was administered, and my understanding is that his heart stopped as soon as that was administered. And they had to perform CPR 11 times on him within 14 to 18 minutes.
Sorry to hear that.
So he's put on a life support. I was contacted. I came over. Met the family for the first time, which was fractious, and I won't go into how fractious it was really fractious, and I was just there to support my dad. I wasn't really there for them, because I'd come to a piece in my head around, you know, it was very much their life, and you know, I was getting on with mine, and I'd done the work.
Yes.
But I was there for my dad, and it wasn't the time or place. So I came over on the Thursday, saw my dad in the hospital, which was traumatic in itself, you know, with all the tubes and all that kind of stuff. Spent a bit of time with him, held his hand, went away to the hotel that night with my partner, got to the hospital the following day around 11 o'clock in the morning, about that. And there'd been a meeting that morning with all the family.
Okay.
And the decision was taken to shut down all the machines. That still hurts. That still hurts. So on Saturday, spent the final day with Dad, and the tubes were slowly removed. Dad breathed momentarily on his own, and then I held his hand as he died. Yeah. He got full military honours in the community. It was a wonderful, beautiful funeral. It was almost the closest thing to a state funeral, with an open coffin in the church, so that people could come and pay their respects. Such was the level of reverence and veneration that the community had for my dad.
Did you have that veneration and reverence for him?
I couldn't say that I did. I loved my dad. I'll always love my dad.
We can't help who we love.
No. And so we buried them next to his mum and dad in the local cemetery, and it was again, coffin was carried, and I got the honour to carry his remains, and you know, as one of his sons. There was a bit of, you know, tea and sandwich afterwards, which is traditional. And then that was it, basically. Following day, I took the plane back to Scotland, and that was my dad. But you know, in Ireland we have a saying that our ancestors only truly die when we forget about them, and I carry my dad in my heart every single day, and I carry my mum in my heart every single day. And they still sustain me, and they're still around me, and I still remember them. My dad a little bit more fondly and a little bit more kindly now, and my mum. My mum is just my mum. My mum's my mum. If you were to look at me and look at my mum, we'd both be the same person. We were that close to one another. When it came to her passing, you know, she got cancer, and when it came to her passing, she didn't want to see me at the end. First time it came around, she got chemo and she got radio, and it suppressed it a little bit, but then it has a little nasty way of coming back even stronger the second time around, which it did do. And the second time around, she decided she didn't want anything. She was honestly, Yinka, you'd love my mum, because she sat us all down and she said, right, this is what I want, and this is the way I want it, and this is how I want to go, and I want the death that I want, and
She made peace.
and she made peace, and and she would familial support and support from the hospice on an outreach basis. Lived for a further 2 years before her prognosis, and every year we used
Of course she did.
we'd stick the two fingers up with cancer every single year, and we'd meet we'd meet in Ireland. She'd have apple pie and cream, because she could have apple pie and cream, because she wanted apple pie and cream.
Indeed.
So she had apple pie and cream, but towards the end, she asked me in a conversation that she didn't want me to see her at the end. So she asked me not to come over and just remember her as she was. And at 5:25 in the afternoon, my mum passed in the hospice. And that was early June of 2016. I carry them with me. They're with me every single day. They give me strength every single day. They're with me every single day. They lift me up when I'm feeling down. They give me strength in my bones, which allows me to do what I need to do on a daily basis now, to live the life that I want and take back control.
Seamus, if you could say one thing to our listeners about what life's taught you after such a powerful episode of the Hurt Locker, what would it be? What would you like to share with our listeners?
I know you're in pain. You might be struggling as you're listening to this. I know that pain, and I know that struggle. I don't know your pain, and I don't know your struggle. But what I'm saying to you, suicide is not the answer. Taking your own life is not the answer. There are people out there who love you and support you, and who would miss you if you weren't here. You can manage your pain. You can deal with your pain. It's manageable and treatable. Reach out now and talk to somebody. Listen to this podcast and see my face, and know that it is possible to recover from pain. It is possible to recover from trauma. It is possible to recover from PTSD. It is possible to calm the feelings that you have. It is possible to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm not saying it's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult and it's going to be hard, but you're not alone. You're not alone.
Absolutely.
You are not alone. I am not alone. You are not alone. We are not alone. Just listen to the Hurt Locker, and that will prove that we're not alone.
Don, Seamus, Corry only, it's been a fucking pleasure.
Thanks, my friend.
Thank you. The Hurt Locker is a safe space for our guests to openly share their mental health experiences. If you have been affected by any of the content in this recording, then please reach out for support. If it is an emergency, dial 999. If you would like to talk to somebody today, then please call the Samaritans on 116 123. Stay safe. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Hurt Locker. Please give us a rating or share with another listener. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Hurt Locker Pod.